Hey everybody, my name is Wyatt and I'm Ferda Tunes, and I know it's been a while, but I am back diving deep into artist discographies, and today we are doing the very tough task of ranking all of the studio albums from the Dream Pop gods, Beach House. Now I'm sorry for a little hiatus. If you're in the Discord, which you should be, links in the bio, you'll know the last 2 weeks and the next week and a half-ish are just fucked for me. Like that's all I can really say. So just wanted to say I'm sorry, and you know Ferda's not going anywhere. So anyways, a good friend of mine put me onto Beach House about 2.5 years ago, and I noticed every single month after that I fell deeply more in love with their music, and they're honestly one of my favorite bands ever at this point. So you guys know what this is. I'm ranking all of their albums from worst to best. Let's waste no more time. I really think this is going to be another one where everybody has a different list, so please let me know what you agree with, disagree with. This was a very tough one, so let's go. I mean, yeah, there's great stuff on here, and any fan of the band definitely needs to hear this. It's especially nice to hear some of the demo versions of songs that were on previous albums. And there are some gems on here, just some great tracks. Just as a front to back album, it's kind of obvious why it would make it at the bottom, right? Their shortest album is their debut, and really, as low as it is on the list, there's not much bad I can say about it. The main reason it's so low is it just kind of feels like they were still finding their spark that made their sound so special. This is a lot more low-key in tone than all of their other albums, which isn't just a blatantly negative thing to say at all, because pretty much everything here is still great, and it's very organic. It really just kind of sounds like some lullabies to drift you into a dreamscape. It is a lot less exciting and captivating as their next few albums, but highlights like Apple Orchard and Auburn and Ivory are fucking great. I just find listening to the album front to back, as short as it is, it kind of just blends together, and it doesn't give me that constant amazement I get from pretty much all of their other albums. It almost sounds like a minimal or a stripped down version of their next album. It's still really good stuff. Another project that is somewhat low on the list, but don't get me wrong, this album isn't that far off from most of the albums ahead of it. The only real problem I have with Thank Your Lucky Stars is it's the only Beach House album that sounds like a typical Beach House album. It's the only project where they didn't really do anything different stylistically or artistically that they hadn't done before. I've seen some people say this album sounds like a B-sides, and I don't really see it, to be honest. I think when you really listen to it and give it an honest chance without that lens of it just being kind of a lackluster, typical Beach House album, you realize it's still pretty fucking great, and there's some songs on here that could go toe-to-toe with quite a few songs on the next few albums. Next few albums in the list, I mean. It doesn't overstay its welcome. As usual, there's not really a bad song on here. It actually has one of their most grand album outros, Somewhere Tonight. This thing feels like you just climbed a mountain and you're at the peak, just relishing in the triumphant beauty of everything. This is exactly the album you'll go to when you feel like you just can't get enough Beach House. Being such a fan of the band, I still enjoy the album wholeheartedly. I just think these things considered and the timing it was released is just enough to leave it out of the top 5. This is still great stuff. This feels like the cherry on top of their unreal discography. They really haven't missed once. In a lot of ways, this album feels like their debut, but with just so much more life packed into it and a lot more artistic ambition. The melodies catch your ear so much stronger on here, and the flow of the album from front to back is really unparalleled and probably the best in their discography. This is where Beach House fully came into their own. The songs here are equally interesting and captivating as the production is dreamy and playful. The sound is still quite low-key, especially if you're listening to this after hearing their later albums, but man, the tunes, the melodies, the chords, even the soundscapes, they're still, like, they hold up scary well amongst the rest of their bodies of work, despite not sounding as large as life as their other bodies of work. The first 6 songs on here are all some of their dreamiest. This album feels like coming home after a long vacation, and just all the immense comfort and nostalgia just seeps back into you as you just fall on your bed for the first time and relax. Gorgeous album. Honestly, one of the most serene listening experiences I've ever had. Now, not putting Depression Cherry in the top 3 was one of, if not the hardest decision I've ever had to make for these discography videos. This one is fairly hard to beat. It's the perfect formula of depressing yet uplifting, isolating and comforting, cold and warm at the same time. This is almost their most low-key release, and the first few times I listened to it, it reminded me of the first few times hearing Slowdive's debut, Just for a Day. As the first few listens, the whole album really just kind of washed over me, and as pleasant as it was on the ears, I just didn't really see what made these songs so special. Until one night, man. Of course it was at night. That overwhelming emotion just slapped me silly. I was really blown away with just how immersive this whole album was. For a while, I thought it would make the top 2. The only reason it didn't make the top 3 is because it's a fairly linear album. It's not very versatile, it's not super exciting, but the mood this entire album brings is easily their most immense and consistent. The atmospheres that are built on most of these tracks are some of the most immersive songs I've ever heard. Really, this whole album feels like just a massive cozy blanket, just comforting every inch of you. Space Song might be their biggest hit, period, and I see why. It was kind of a peak in their sound at the time. But Wildflower may be their most underrated song, period, in my eyes. To me, it's one of the most comforting and uplifting songs ever written. And the melodies, everything is just so healing about this song. Like, I can't use the word comfort enough, honestly, when describing this album. There's a lot of very interesting low-key production choices on songs like 1037 and Bluebird, but really there's not many dull moments. You'll get thrown into this album's atmosphere before you even know it, and you'll come out with your heart just feeling so warm. Again, I wish I could have put it in the top 3 because it's definitely one of my favorites, but alas. Their latest album is their most jam-packed in my eyes. They pulled out all the stops. This is fairly easily their most versatile and most exciting, maybe even their most ambitious. And this was one where they really pushed their sound further, which is really surprising to think about considering how many times they had done that before, and they still managed to surprise fans with this kaleidoscopic roller coaster of an album. They added more traditional shoegaze elements to their typical dream pop sound, and it just gives everything this organic rush. Like on the first song, Dark Spring, this song is a banger. The reverb guitars are reverbing. It's such a fun yet very mystical song, and the way it transitions into the second track, Pay No Mind, is I'm honestly left speechless every time I hear it. Fuck it, like one of the most jaw-dropping song-to-song transitions I've ever heard on an album. Then Lemon Glow comes and brings this electronic feel to that sound, and weird enough becomes one of their biggest hits, and when you hear it, you kind of get why. And that first 3-track run might be the best in their entire discography. And the 4th track transcends you directly to heaven, so it's not to say the album falls off after that or anything. It gets a little more low-key in the middle, which, again, isn't a bad thing, but the run of tracks that closes the album out is spectacular. Really, it's all around the best showmanship they've had on an album, and it's kind of a blend of everything they've touched on in the past, but with this creative progression that just pushed these ideas further than I think anyone expected them to go. I totally understand people saying that this is their best, for sure. Teen Dream is their most emotional and nostalgic album, which is what I go to Beach House for mostly. The tracklist here brings a variety of feelings, all brought on immensely with their best songwriting, period, easily. The song themes are the most standout part of the album to me, and none of their other albums even come close. All of the ideas flow so naturally smooth, and everything feels very organically fleshed out into just a lot of just jaw-droppingly gorgeous songs. This really feels like the soundtrack to appreciating your youth and falling in love for the first time. It really is a teen dream. Like, the album is perfect in that sense. I'll never forget the first time hearing the chorus to, I think, the fourth track, Walk in the Park, the way everything just collides together and just, oh my god, it is stunning. And Used to Be might be my favorite song from them, period. I've always taken it as a reminder of childhood, and I feel this nostalgic triumph every time I hear it. This song is a lifesaver. I think this album will forever remain just one of the most serene and luscious albums of the decade, with all its very consistent themes of love, youth, and emotion. It's as powerful as it is soothing. I think it's an album everyone should hear at least once in their life, because to me, it's like a generation-defining album. That's like the best way I can put it.
Other people want to keep in touch.
This Bloom, oh my lord, this is the perfect dream pop album. Like, I can't put it any other way. Every song on here could be argued as one of their best. Seriously, 10 tracks on here, all just unimaginably great. I hate saying this, but this is their peak in my eyes as of now. They did absolutely everything right. They got the hits, they got the heart-wrenching ballads, they got the fun bangers, and every single one of them is top of the line. And like top of the genre too, not even just some of the best beach house songs. Like some of the best dream pop songs ever made. Like, yeah, as hard as it was to rank all of these, I kind of always knew that Bloom was going to be number one. Like I said, it's fucking flawless in my eyes. The way the last 3 tracks bring out that tear-jerking emotion from Teen Dream, but delivered in a much more dense and creative way. The song Wishes just feels like you're hand gliding over the entire fucking universe, and On the Sea is one of, if not the most powerful ballad in their entire catalog. Looking back, and it may be weird to say this, but it almost feels like Teen Dream and Seven's Star Child. It's just the perfect blend of soft, comforting dream pop and huge soundscapes that submerge you into another universe completely. Probably my favorite dream pop album I've ever heard. If you've never listened to the genre, this album may just split your entire world open. This album is just unbelievable. Like, every time I hear it, it takes me to new places in my mind, and it just has never sounded dry once. Always hits, it always shines so brightly, it always just... I can't say enough. Like, when I talk about like quarantine albums from last year, mid-pandemic, like, this was, I think I played this every time I took a shower. Like, I just cannot get enough of it. I love it to death. I wish I had the vinyl behind me. Like, need that ASAP. But yeah, I think that's all I can really say. Like, Beach House is one of those bands where I feel like I could talk about them forever, but I don't really want to, because I think it's just, the music speaks for itself. It's that kind of thing. So, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please join the Discord if you're inclined in the slightest, because we be talking about music there, and I want to upgrade it a shit ton more than it already is, but I think we've been having fun. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Of course, let me know what you agree with, disagree with, drop your ranking if you really want to. I'd love to see them, and you know, the usual. Follow me, Instagram, Twitter, all that, links in the description. It feels great to be back, you know, and I hope I'm not leaving you guys hanging for another video for another week or two. I love you guys, and you know I'm Ferda Tunes. Like, I always want to be doing this shit, but, you know, work and life, it's a lot. Love you guys so much. Thanks again for watching. Join the fucking Discord. Let's get it booming in there, and I'll see you guys there, hopefully. Much love.